We're heading back to South Korea. The chief of Jeju Air has pledged to repair trust by strengthening safety measures after one of its planes landed at Muan International Airport Sunday. The incident killed 179 people and is the nation's worst aviation disaster in history.
승객 불편을 최소화할 수 있는 범위 내에서 우선 3월까지의 동계 기간 운항량을 10% 내지 15% 감축해서 운항 안정성을 더욱 강화하도록 하겠습니다. 지속적으로 진행되고 있는 상황을 수습하고 안전 대책을 강화하여 신뢰 회복에 최선을 다하도록 하겠습니다.
Investigators have started studying the plane's two black boxes, the cockpit voice recorder and the flight data recorder. Authorities say the data recorder, however, is missing a critical connector that's making it harder for data to be retrieved. The aircraft made a belly landing before overrunning the runway and exploding as it crashed into a concrete embankment around 250 meters from the end of the runway. Now, that structure has a navigation system mounted on top, and that assists in landings. The government says it is examining regulations around the wall in question after experts pointed out risks about having a concrete structure so close to the runway. Concerns have also been raised about staffing levels at Muan Airport. A local newspaper reports that only one member of the airport's bird alert team was working on the day of the incident, and this has prompted questions about whether operational protocol was sufficient after a suspected bird strike was identified as one of the likely causes of the incident. Well, families of the victims who died in the Jeju Air crash are grieving as they wait for news on their loved ones. Many are becoming angry and frustrated, with the remains of only about half the victims returned to their families so far. CNA's Lim Yong-suk has more.
The bereaved family members listened carefully as names were called out. These are the names of the victims whose bodies have been identified using their DNA and fingerprints. Shall I go now? This woman asks, after being told to verify the remains of a family member. Of the 181 people on board the ill-fated Jeju Air flight from Bangkok to Muan, only 2 survived. Families of the victims have been here at Muan International Airport since Sunday, waiting for any bit of information they can get. Some vented their frustration and anger at officials, like this man. But soon he was in tears as others tried to console him. Family members together or on their own, all trying to come to grips with reality in their own ways. This 63-year-old man who didn't want to be identified says he was at home watching news of the plane crash when it hit him that his daughter and son-in-law could be on the flight.
큰딸이 태국 갔다고 그렇게 연락이 와가지고 2시까지 계속 궁금해서 이제 방송을 봤는데 신호는 이제 안 올라오고 그 탑승자에 들었다고 해가지고 딸하고 사위하고 둘이 탔지. 사람이 다 폭발해서 다 죽었는데 누가 남아있까 죽음으로 또 완전 처참히 죽었어.
All he wants now is to give them a proper send-off.
어디 안 하려고 조용히 사위 집에 같이 합동으로 장례 치르기로 했으니까 조용히 치르고 일상으로 좀 돌아갔습니다.
Several high-ranking government officials, including acting President Choi Sang-mok, were at the scene, trying to console families. He had ordered an emergency safety inspection of the overall airline operation system as investigators tried to find out the cause of the fatal crash. With South Korea in the period of national mourning, a temporary altar was set up at Muan Sports Complex on Monday for the public to pay their respects. But it remains quite empty, at least for now. Many bereaved families prefer to remain inside the airport halls and stay close to where the crash happened, as recovery efforts are still underway.
멀리 갈 필요 없이 이 공항 1층에 분향소를 만들어 달라. 분향소는 멀리 있는 것보다는 사고가 이루어지는 장소에서 만들어지는 게 합당하다고 생각해서 여기로 결정을 하게 되었습니다.
Mr. Park's younger brother was on that plane, and he and other bereaved families are worried about whether their loved ones' remains can be fully retrieved.
시신이 숨졌다고 하는데 100에 몇 프로만 있는지 10%인지 30%인지 50%인지 육안으로 확인할 수 있는지 확인이 안 되는지 또 나머지 몸에서 떨어져 나온 부분이 있다면 그 부분은 수습을 하고 있는지.
Until the bodies are all recovered and identified, families will continue to stay in these makeshift shelters, waiting to bring their loved ones home. The nation is saddened and still in shock as South Koreans across the country mourn the death of those who died in the country's worst aviation disaster in decades. Lim Yeon-suk, CNA, Muan International Airport in South Cholla Province, South Korea.